Hello, this is BBC News and these are the latest headlines in the UK and around the world. The death toll from the floods in Western Germany and Belgium rises to more than 150 as rescue teams continue to search for hundreds of people still missing. European leaders blame the extreme weather on climate change. Experts say global warming makes torrential rainfall more likely.
And I'm Kasia Madeira, live in Erftstadt in Western Germany, one of the worst affected areas where the army is in full recovery mode.
A change to the quarantine rules for travellers to France. Double vaccinated people arriving back in England and Wales will still have to self-isolate. And France now says those not vaccinated must have a test within 24 hours of entering the country. Pop-up vaccine centres open in venues across England this weekend in a push to get more people vaccinated before the country unlocks next week. Olympics organisers announced the first case of coronavirus in the athletes' village 6 days before the Tokyo Games begin. Hello and welcome if you're watching in the UK or around the world. Rescue crews have been racing to find survivors after the floods that wreaked havoc in Germany and its western neighbours. 153 people are so far known to have died across Europe, 133 of them in Germany alone, and hundreds remain unaccounted for, while thousands are now homeless. Thousands of residents of Wassenburg, an area west of the German city of Cologne, have been evacuated after a dam was breached by floodwater overnight. German officials say the country's flood warning system functioned as it was supposed to, but the amount of rain and how rapidly it fell was unforeseen. Let's cross live now to my colleague Kasia Madeira, who's in Erftstadt in Germany. And Kasia, in many ways, I guess it's only now possible for the authorities, for rescue crews to begin assessing the true extent of what's happened.
You're absolutely right. And as the waters are slowly receding, that level of destruction is becoming quite apparent. The security services, the rescue services were telling me a little bit earlier that just hours before, this dual carriageway was completely submerged. As the waters are slowly beginning to recede, the levels of destruction are becoming incredibly apparent. This is, like I say, it's a dual carriageway, and those are cars that are now being assessed for the grim possibility that there are human remains there. But that is a situation that is right now unfolding. It's a situation that is repeated across various parts of Western Germany, as my colleague Courtney Bembridge now explains.
As the floodwaters receded in Western Germany, residents began counting the cost. Achim Huck's home once stood here. It's been reduced to rubble, along with his recently renovated fish farm, which was supposed to fund his retirement.
I'd just put another €35,000 into the house over the last 2 weeks. Everything, new water pipes laid. I still have to pay the bills.
His neighbour built this house by hand. I carried every stone here, he says. He was lucky to escape with his grandchildren.
We went out over the roof here, and then over the other roof. And then they brought us down. Here was all water up to the top. If you'd fallen in, you'd have been gone. There was such pressure on it.
An hour away, in the town of Zinzig, these brothers have been helping out elderly residents.
What this massive amount of water did in 1 hour, it's crazy.
You want to weep along with them. You feel their pain and suffering.
Further south, close to the Luxembourg border, the Müller family have also started the long and arduous clean-up.
Ich musste mit den Tränen kämpfen.
I have to fight back the tears. We had done everything up so nice, and all at once, everything's gone. A lot of it will have to be built anew. It just hurts all over. It really hurts.
Ja, es tut halt weh. Es tut weh, ja, richtig weh.
It's still not clear exactly how many people are missing, and without phone signal, communication is almost impossible.
Thinking of the people who are still missing their grandparents, and some of them didn't even make it from their beds to the upper floors because it was that quick.
We have to get help in order to save of people's lives what can be saved, to free those who are still stuck in their homes, and then we'll need support with the rebuilding. It's an enormous catastrophe.
Around 15,000 police, soldiers and emergency service workers have been deployed in Germany to help, but with many bridges and roads washed away, it will be days yet before they can reach the more remote areas. Courtney Bembridge, BBC News.
So that huge recovery operation is beginning to take place right now, and what we're seeing behind me is actually that right in action. We're going to speak to Elmer Metzger, who's a volunteer fire service official and is very kindly taking a moment out from his busy day. We've just been witnessing here these 3 trucks being moved. Just talk us through the scale of what is happening behind us.
It happens, the water overflooded this bypass road, and it must have been very quickly. So we hope that everyone was able to get out of their cars. And now you see we are trying to remove the wrecks of the cars with the aid of the army. We have a recovery tank with a 50-ton winch who was just pulling out a third small van out of the gap between these 3 large lorries. And yes.
So Elmer, just to make us understand, the power of the water moved these trucks. These are articulated trucks, yes, onto one another.
Yes, the water pushed the 3 trucks against the bridge and moved it along this highway.
And you're, of course, hopeful that everybody was able to get out, but is that a given?
Yes, we hope that no one is hurt here, but we can't guarantee it. We do not know. Yesterday, this valley was 12 meters flooded with water, and we hope that we do not find people in the wrecks of the cars.
And further up in Elstad, of course, we saw the huge collapse, the area just being sucked in, the ground being sucked in. Just give us an update on the situation there.
The worst things happened in Erftstadt-Blessem. It's a small part of the town, some thousand meters behind us. We had a Kiesgrube. It's a large hole where you dig for sand for construction purposes. And the heavy rainfall wetted the complete ground. And if you try to build sand castles on the North Sea, for example, you see what happens if sand gets wet. It starts flowing like water, and that was the problem with Blessem, because the sand ground, we are here in the old Rhine valley of the Ice Age, we have a sand ground. And the
sand just pulled it all in, didn't
it?
Yes,
it pulled all in.
OK, well, Elmer, thank you so much. Elmer Metzger, who is a volunteer with the security services. Thank you for your time. And like I say, this is a recovery operation that is continuing, but the scale of the destruction is only now becoming apparent. And of course, the first priority is to account for the 1,300 people that are still unaccounted for, with the death toll across this part of the world over 150 people. There is an awful lot of concern. Angela Merkel, we heard her describe this as a catastrophe. What we're seeing down on the ground surely echoes that.
Kasia, thank you very much. Kasia Madeira, we will be back with Kasia in Erftstadt later.